Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 8 p.m. on November 13th, 2023. Um, One second. All right. It says we're having a problem on Facebook, but hopefully it'll be okay. So, again, welcome this evening to the show. We have a guest that'll be joining us a little bit later. And I wanted to first open up with something I'd like to present this evening, which is talking about the degrees and expectations of fellowship. I think often we have people in our lives, and we really haven't clearly identified what their role is. And often we've given them access to ourselves, our time, our talents, and our treasures, and we really don't appreciate what we have given to them. And I wanted to share this winning strategy with you as a way to begin to articulate where do people fall in, and how do they fall in. So when we look at the first degree of expectations of fellowship, are those people that are acquaintances we have contact with, they're associates. But what's expected there is that we're cordial and we're welcoming and we're polite. Then there's another group, we'll call that the second group, who are an ally, a supporter, or someone that we're collaborating with. And then we expect them to be cooperative and helpful and caring. And then there's another group, which is, I think, the highest group, is someone that you would call a friend, a comrade, or a buddy. And our expectations there is that they understand that they're essential to us. They're meaningful, and that we expect the relationship to be beneficial. And in our lives, we're going to have people in all three of these different categories. And some have more individuals in one category than another. But it's important for us to be able to place them accordingly and begin to examine the people that are in our lives now. And as we look to them for fellowship, where do they fall in? And sometimes what we find is that we have an acquaintance and we're treating them like they're essential and meaningful and beneficial. And we have a friend sometimes and we're just being cordial and welcoming and polite. And again, those are cross expectations that we have of people. And it's important that we develop relationships and give them their rightful due, and that we're not confused as to where they fall in our lives and what we can expect. So I hope that that's a helpful winning strategy that you can think about and keep in mind as you evaluate who's around you and what they're able to do, and more importantly, what you're able to do for others as well. As you look at the people that you're associated with, how do they fit in, and how do you fit in with them, and vice versa. So, without further ado, we have a young man that's going to join us this evening and talk to us a little about his journey as he has made the journey to attain his personal best. And it looks different for every person. And we want to just hear from him this evening what that journey has looked like for him. So we have Mr. Tyrone Harris. So welcome this evening, Mr. Harris.
How you doing? I'm happy to be here.
Great.
Tyrone Harris, former foster care youth.
Okay. And so, Tyrone, if you can tell us a little bit about where you are now, how old you are, and what are you up to?
25. I'm newly graduated from college. I'm living in Reading, Pennsylvania, about like an hour from Philadelphia. I'm using my degree as a crisis interventionist specialist at a school.
Good. So, talk to us about your degrees. What degrees have you gotten so far?
I got my associates in criminal justice from Northampton Community College, and
Mhm.
then I furthered my education and got my bachelor's in criminal justice from Kutztown University.
Right. So, it seems that criminal justice is something you really want to focus on.
Yeah, it was something that really just caught my eye, and it kept me really interested in college.
Mhm.
I always thought about when I pick my major. I didn't want to just do it and be like dread going to school and going to class every day. It was something I was really interested in.
And someone named Bobby says, "Congrats to you, Tyrone."
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good. Was when you looked at criminal justice, was there a career that you were focusing on at that particular point when you chose that?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. My grandmother's a retired cop. She always talked about criminal justice and always talked about. I never really wanted to be a cop, but that was just always embedded in me when I was young. And when I got to school, I looked at the majors and I was like, "Oh, criminal justice sounds cool," and I just chose it. But I wound up liking it a lot, though.
What did you learn in taking those studies that you didn't know before you got started? A lot of times you learn a lot of stuff in college, but there's often not a lot you walk away with. But what is something that you learned in that journey that you didn't know before you got started?
Are you talking about personally or educationally?
Educationally, when you study criminal justice, what did that teach you that you may not have known if you weren't in those classrooms?
Number one thing, every case is different.
Mm.
It could be person Joe and a person named Steve, and they could go to jail for the same exact thing. They could be doing the same exact crime, but that don't mean they'll get charged the same. That don't mean they'll get the same amount of sentencing. Every case is a case by case basis. That's the number one thing I probably learned in criminal justice. So just because someone will be like, "Oh, my cousin Steve, had a case like that," that don't mean that that's going to be the same repercussions for you or anything like that.
What do you think about that? That from what you gathered, it's not a level playing field, and everyone isn't. It's not all equal.
Yeah.
If your understanding is correct, so what do you think about that now, having realized that?
Make sure you get a good lawyer, because because getting getting a good lawyer is probably one of the biggest things that's going to help you out, because they're going to be educated, and and just them personal relationships with them, having a good lawyer and things of that nature. It really is eye opening, because you really never know what's going to come your way. You just got to just hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Wow. And so I understand now that you're looking at an additional degree and a master's degree. What is
Yeah.
that going to be focused on? Or if you have any idea at this point?
Yeah, I don't want to make the same mistake I did last time with just rushing and going into a master's program and just really just doing it. I want to make sure I do it for myself. So I actually want to take some time to reflect and really see what I want to do, because I don't want to just get into the same situation. But when I was doing student affairs, that was my master's program. I did like it a lot. I was enjoying it. So I wouldn't rule that out. School counseling. I still want to work with people.
Mhm. And what is it about working with people that you find interesting? What do you get out of it, and what do you hope to give as well?
I just want to just be, because I remember times when I didn't have nobody to talk to. I remember times where I didn't get treated. I felt as though I didn't get treated the way I was supposed to be getting treated. So, and I do remember having good mentors and good people I could look up to. And I feel like it's just like my calling. I feel like, like NBA players, they feel like they were born to play basketball. I feel like I was born to give back, talk to people, and use my communication skills to, hopefully inspire. I might talk to 20 people, but if I could just change someone's view, maybe one or two people, then I did
I
a
want to
justice.
I want to caution you on something you just said, and beg you to never say it again. You said if you meet 20 people, you hope you can impress a couple. I think you're cheapening your value and your impact, and I think your expectation is too low. I believe that if 20 people were placed in front of you, there was a reason for that, and I believe you can impact those 20, and from their impact, they'll impact another 200 based on what
Mm-hmm.
you have to share. So I think we tend to minimize what our impact is, because I think we realize that we're powerful and we have potential, but we add a narrative that says something different. I know, Tyrone, that you can say something and it will impact people you will never see. So give yourself that credit and that belief that you're going to help people you won't even have contact with. You'll help the ones you have contact with, but also some ones that you don't. So I want to encourage you to just be mindful of that narrative, to not to minimize
Mm-hmm.
yourself, but also not to walk around maximizing yourself, but not to minimize yourself, but just recognize the potential that you have. And especially with the technology exists, you're able to impact people all over the world by lots of different platforms.
Right.
Do you receive
Nah,
that?
yeah, 100%.
Very good. So one of the things that I know about you, Tyrone, is that you're a young man that came from Philadelphia, and we often hear stories from, inner cities where people are going through a lot of challenges. You acknowledge being in foster care.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has been able to make it, and you went off to college and you got a job, and you're really and you're still only 25 years old. And what do you think was work for you? And more importantly, what do you think we do need to do a better job of making sure it's available to other young people so that they have a safety net?
Yeah. I feel like it just clicked one day. I just looked at my community. I looked at the people that was living in Philadelphia, and they told me like, there's nothing here for you. Just keep on going. And I feel like it's gonna be one of them things that's internally, um, the pivot, that's gonna change the projective because everybody's individuals. And I
Mm.
still remember the day that I decided to change my life.
We'll talk about that.
Um, the day I changed my life, I was getting kicked out of Northampton Community College
Mm.
because I had gotten a fight with one of my classmates that I went to high school with. We wound up going to the same college. So
Mm.
I got in a fight with him. I was getting kicked out of the dorm, so I had nowhere to live. And I called my grandma. I was calling around trying to find somewhere to live. I called my grandma and I told her, I'm about to get kicked out of college. I got nowhere to live. And she cried on the phone and said, "You can't live here."
Wow.
And I was facing homelessness, and I literally had $400 to my name. I went on Craigslist and I called every ad that I could find for room for rent near my college. And I wound up, I'll never forget his name. His name was Joe Drunkenmiller. And we wound up talking on the phone for an hour, our first conversation. And he told me, he said, the room's not going to be available for 2 weeks. I said, I'll sleep on your couch. He said, all right, give me $70. You can sleep on my couch. I
Wow.
slept on his couch. His roommate moved out. I moved in the room, and I wound up finishing school and continuing my education. But if I never had that little bit of $400, or if I don't know what would have happened. I would have went back to Philadelphia, and I don't know where I would have stayed. But like I
Mm.
said, it was such a learning lesson that I still remember that, and that was like probably 5 years ago.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow.
it hurts me when she started crying because my grandma, she's tough. She
Mm.
doesn't cry or nothing like that, but she was saying like, you can't live here because my cousin messed it up for us all. She don't want nobody living here no more.
You don't care. She don't care who you are.
Yeah, my cousin had him living there with his baby mom and two
Mm.
kids.
Mm.
They got out. My grandma vowed. She said nobody else.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
But that day, changed the trajectory of your life. And I do think
Mhm.
it's so important that you recognize, the people. Again, as you said, the name is Drunkenmiller, and who would have thought Mr. Drunkenmiller would be the safety net that was offered to you, and
Mhm.
but just being receptive, and also have the tenacity to keep making those phone calls and keep going down that,
Yeah.
Craigslist, and just keep pulling ahead. And but I also think you said something that was important, Tyrone, is that you got in trouble and you had decent housing. There's not a lot of community colleges in Pennsylvania that has on-campus
Yeah.
housing.
Hey, great housing.
Yeah. And you had it, and you lost it, through your behavior. But again, you weren't going to let that pull you down.
Mm-mm.
You still plowed ahead, and figured out something else, and you've kept going. And so again, I think that's a lesson learned. But again, I give you credit for just sticking through it and not giving up, because lots of times what people look for is excuses. I got thrown out of the college, so, but you got thrown out and said, okay, I can't live there. That doesn't mean I can't go there.
Yeah.
The infraction was about housing. It wasn't about my education. So again, I think that's really important. And I know you finished up there and you got your associates, and then you just kept going and you went
Yeah.
on to Kutztown and got your bachelor's, and you're still thinking about what's next. And I think that's
Yeah.
so. At this particular point in your life, it seems like you have somewhat of a map that you're working on,
Hmm.
and also it seems that you're somewhat clear on who the mentors are for you in your life. I'm going to just put up one second here. This depiction that we often talk about is these are what they call the 4 M's. There's mapping, there's mental wellness, there's mediation, which is an opportunity to look at alternatives, and mentoring. And I think you've talked about that you're not rushing into a master's program. You want to consider your options, and you want to figure a way to mediate your circumstance. I think you've talked about mentors that have been there for you, Mr. Drunkenmiller being one of them. And again, I think you shared your map. But when you look at the area of mental wellness, Tyrone, how do you feel you're doing in that area, and do you feel that you have any homework to be done? Because it sounds like you've had a full life with some ups and downs, and some people that have been in place and out of place. You talk about grandma, but I'm sure there's a story about mom and dad and brothers and sisters as well. So that can impact your mental wellness. So talk to us a little bit about mental wellness and how you've been able to navigate that for yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like it been a roller coaster. It been a roller coaster. A lot of the post college anxiety,
Mm,
a lot of the post foster care anxiety.
mm,
You got to think about it. I've been having caseworkers since I was 13 that I
mm,
can call whenever I have an issue. I had a college schedule, so I was going to class. I was doing this. I was adult, but I was still, I had that support system. But once
mm,
I graduated, it was like, whoa, So I struggled a lot with my mental health because I didn't think I did the right things. I didn't think I chose the right major. I always said, oh, I wish I'd have went to school for this or instead of this. And I beat myself up a lot. And, just with my family and my friends, and just always keeping faith in God, and just always saying like everything happens for a reason, and I'm happy the decisions that I made. But,
mm,
of course, I definitely had a lot of issues with my mental health upon
mm,
graduating college, for sure,
mm.
100%.
So that for a lot of people, I think, seems like just the opposite, because it would seem that graduating college should give you more stability, not less. But what did you find, Tyrone, for yourself? Like, why wasn't that achievement that plowed a smoother road rather than
Um, oh, sorry, but I
okay?
was just, I was scared, man. I was
Mm,
scared, just always having the people around you that I know got my back. Like I
mm,
know if I call that caseworker, if she's not gonna pick up, she's gonna call me later.
mhm,
But when you hit 21 and you graduate, it's like you're on your own. It was scary. I got through it. I'm doing better. I'm doing a lot better.
mm,
But I'll like be lying to you to say that like being in foster care for that long and then just one day it's over,
mm.
it didn't affect me a lot because it
Wow.
did.
Well, Tyrone, I think that's such a unique perspective that I don't think all of us that are supporting people, especially young people, understand, is that that safety net is important, and then once it's gone, you really think, okay, now it's ready to go out and go fly
Yeah.
and make it happen. But for some people, that's more of
Yeah.
a yeah. I
And
don't think most people would consider that. They would have thought that just the opposite, that you would be pushing the hands away, like, hey, let me. But in your
I
case, you're saying,
did. I did though. I was like, oh, I'm ready to go. Like I could do
mm,
this on my own. I talked to you before. I was
mm,
like, I'm good. Like I'm. But then when you face reality of it, you know, when you're going through these tough times, and your family might not understand me. Like I'm close with my family. Like we get along pretty well. You know, we talk and everything. But you gotta think about it. At the end of the day, I was in foster care for 4 years. You know me, but how well do you really know me?
Mm.
Like, you know the ninth grade me, but do you really know the 25-year-old Tyrone?
Mm.
You know, like, I didn't really get that many home visits and everything like that. So, like, do you really know me? So I felt like I did. I talk to my family, but I don't really talk to my family about how I really, really feel, because I feel like at the end of the day, they won't understand. And have had tried the conversations
Mm.
about how I feel, and they still didn't understand. So I just decided to
Yeah,
just
I always
not.
tell people that foster care is a very unique experience. It leaves such an indelible mark on your life, and just ways that are just not traditional and normal.
Mhm.
Um, and you make some relationships and some connections that are also very special. Over this last weekend, I received an email from a volunteer who had been my volunteer 46 years ago.
Wow.
And they, reached out and said, "Hey, we're just looking to, see how you turned out." 46 years ago. And but that these people just never leave you. And I've always thought about them. And a couple of years back, I tried to find them, but their names are pretty common. So I wasn't able to do it, but they were able to do my name, which is not so common, and they were able to. And so, when I saw that the other day, it was actually yesterday, I almost fell off my seat. And here's this one example, Tyrone. When I used to visit them, they used to have a Sunday dinner where all the children and their husbands would come over to the mom's house for Sunday dinner, which I thought was so odd because I just never experienced that. But they
Mhm.
used to have they used to serve bread at every meal, Sunday meal, and I love putting butter on the bread. This was the first time I ever put butter on the bread where the butter was soft. And the reason the butter was soft was because they never put it in the refrigerator. They always left it out so it stayed soft. So if you go to my house today, 46 years later, that's exactly how the butter is in my house. It's always soft. It always stays out of the refrigerator. But I learned that from visiting that family and being with them and embracing their love and support. So again, these little things. And I remember also there was a staff person in a group home I was in. His name was James Elkins. He made the best pancakes you could ever have in your. People would die on Saturday mornings for Jim to make. And to this day, if you ask anyone that knows me, I can't cook anything, but
Mm.
I can cook a mean pancake. Yeah. So, we'll have pancakes for dinner.
Yeah.
So again, I think that this experience that we do have leaves a very strong mark on our lives, sometimes in a negative way, but a lot of times in a positive way. And you're right. Trying to get people to understand your pancakes and your butter and why you want to
Uh-huh.
put the soft butter on your pancakes. They don't understand.
And I was talking to my one friend, and he was asking me, he was like, "Hey, like, you never talk about your mom and dad, and we've been friends for like 5 years." And I broke him down. Like, I'm like, "All right, let's talk about it." And I
Mm,
told him, I was like, just imagine you just living at home, and now you're living with strangers, and then it's like six, seven other people you're living with. They could
mm,
become your brothers. You could love them, or it could go vice versa.
mm,
But it's people that I still talk to here and there. That I met from Child First, that I
mm.
still talk to here. It's like one or two of them. You know, some incarcerated that I still put money on they
Well,
books because
mm,
yeah, I do that for them. And there's some that just staff that might just call me. I had a staff I haven't talked to in like 3 years. He called me. He's like, I just want to see if your number was the same. I was just
mm,
like, yeah, it is. And we talked it up, chopped it up for a little bit.
mm. But again, I think it's so important, that we recognize that, young people especially need a safety net. But I think
Yeah.
as you're saying, even at 25 years old, you need a safety net as well. And I just want to go on record as just committing to you, Tyrone, to continue to try to be some facet of a safety net for you as you keep going forth to make things happen for you.
I appreciate you.
And I sincerely appreciate you sharing your story and your journey. And I want you to come back, in a period of time in the future, and just share with us how you're doing.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent, but I'm sure it'll be all good. And just know that whether it's Miss Nitsa, myself, or anyone else, Miss Leilani, and others, we're here for you. You're on your own, but you're not alone. And you just have to pick up that telephone and reach out. And I admire you because when you reached out last week, you said, "Hey, you said gave me some advice, and I didn't listen to you. Now can I and I'm now willing to follow your advice. Can I follow some? Can your advice follow some money to support me with my idea about going on to higher education? And again, I'd rather support you to build you up than to bury you.
I appreciate that, man.
It's an easy question to answer. So we're here for you. We're proud of you. We love you. As Nitsa says, you're awesome. So keep being awesome. And thanks again for coming on tonight.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Doc. And I'm always gonna say I appreciate you, and I love you too.
Thank you. Take care.
Have the best.
You too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for tonight, November 13th, 2023. I hope you sincerely appreciate the authenticity and the genuineness of Tyrone and his story. And I also hope that the beginning segment about looking at your friends and what they can and can't do for you and what our expectations are and what you're doing for others as well. And that we recognize that our goal in life is to be that safety net for ourselves as well as other people, and figure out a way to build them up instead of tearing them down. Well, until next week at this time, I wish you well. Take care.